Hello everybody, welcome to my new video. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different because I had an idea. So today we're going to do a study with me video. So basically what that means is I am going to study, specifically today we're doing red pandas, and just kind of record my thought process and my screen as I do so, and hopefully someone will find this helpful. So, oh goodness, my keyboard is all the way over there, which means I cannot reach it. There it is. I'm working with a new setup. I've got my computer, which is fairly new to me, but also we've just moved into the living room with a new desk setup and everything, so I'm not quite used to it yet, and I haven't found my ideal workflow. So this is just a image I pulled off of Google, which, fair use, it's fine. But I am going to trace over it first to kind of get an idea of the building blocks or the shapes that we can find in a red panda's face. I've picked a fairly neutral image for this first sketch over because I want to get this mouth thing. I wanted to find a image in which it is slightly kind of three-quarter view here. So we're just going to sketch around this. And one of the things I always do when I'm studying is I just work with basic shapes. I'm not going in here and like uh, tracing every detail and that, because that's not going to help us when we go to want to draw a red panda without the images, or even with the images, just kind of being able to break it down. After that, we kind of want what the next big shape here is, and that looks to me to be this kind of, I'm not sure what shape that is, maybe a pentagon? That seems like a pentagon without the point, and where the eyes are. After that, I'd say the next biggest shape is probably this bigger circle here. And you want to don't like try and work only with bigger shapes or simplify it too much, because the point is to kind of get the boom, boom, boom. What if we draw it, can we draw it from any angle? So like this shape here, we're going to probably see one later where the shape is closer to this with the bigger angle like this. And we need to know kind of how those cheeks are going to turn, which I don't yet, because I have drawn quite a few red pandas, but I need the side view to be sure. We can see that the ears up here, these lovely fluffies, are kind of coming off the head at an angle. And I've noticed that nearly all red pandas have this lovely little tuft above their eyes, and it makes it kind of easy to figure out where the eyes are, and that kind of helps with emotions if you're doing a cartoon panda. And then most of them have this lovely little tuft of multicolored hair over here. So if we turn off our image now, we can kind of see the general shape of the red panda appearing. Next shape, and this one works mostly if you it works better if you kind of already know somewhat what the anatomy is. Like for example, most four-legged animals have a bigger shape, a smaller shape, and off of those comes some kind of legs and a head. So for the red panda, it looks like you've got your front shape over here and your back shape maybe right here, because you got that stomach coming in between. And off this front shape, we've got our front paws, which is, they're not very easy to see in this particular image. And the back paws are somewhere in there. It just kind of becomes a blurred mess, I think, at that point. So we're gonna, I think the paws, back paws are right there or something. Oopsie, I think I just drew on the image again. I do that occasionally. Okay, so that's our first sketch over. We're going to turn that off and grab another image. Because the point of this is just, we're not tracing over these to use them later in any kind of design or anything. What we're trying to do right now is kind of get our hands used to drawing these shapes in addition to also taking note of the shapes so that later when we go to draw it, we already kind of know what we're looking for. And right now I've got a side view here. The biggest ones, make sure you get at least one 3/4 view, one side view, and a front view is good as well. So for this one, I think the other color just wasn't easy enough to see on top. Trying to find something a little more flashy. It helps to be on the correct layer. There it is. Okay. So in the last one, our nose is kind of like that, right? Well, we're in a side view now, so it still is similar to that, but we've kind of split up this shape because the mouth is open. So it kind of becomes more like that shape. And if you notice, it still is kind of a that shape if you were to close it, but it's much, I admit it's not quite as wide as I was expecting. It's a very flat shape. Next biggest shapes. You want to kind of get that indent in there because it's important to the shape of the face. We've got, that would be that shape, I suppose. The eye coming off here, the lovely eye thing. And you remember how we said it was kind of diagonal to the eyes? Well, that's still the case for the ears in the side view. Next, we've got kind of the neck over here. And that's where our reference ends. So that's about as much as we see. And we get a really good view of the nose in this one. So I'm going to trace out just that nose there and kind of get an idea. I know grizzly bear noses. I studied some, and I was doing grizzly bear studies earlier as well as watching Aaron Blaise. Aaron Blaise, the animator, has this lovely set of tutorial videos on his website creatureartteacher.com where he talks about drawing bears. And as the director of Brother Bear, he's drawn a lot of bears. So he can just draw bears without even any kind of reference or anything. He just knows how to do it. But he was talking about how the shape of a nose for a bear, everybody thinks it's going to be this round thing, but it's actually more of a triangle. And the nostril kind of does that. And I've been looking at a couple of bears, and it seems like they all do that. So you get this weird open nostril shape, and it looks like we've got that going on right here with the line in the middle and the nostril shape showing up. And we've got just a little bit of a top here, whereas like it's not quite as solidly flat on top as you might consider a grizzly bear's nose. Instead, you got more of a rounded nose here. Okay, well that's study number 2. Let's grab another one. I'm going to find a front view this time. Ooh, that's a good one. Here we are. Okay. Oh my, that is a much smaller image than I thought it was. Oh, let's try it out. U scale. What do we got here? Okay, yeah, it's still good enough to trace. Remember, we're not using these trace overs for any kind of actual project. We are just studying right now. So we'll remember back from here, not that one, but that one. And from here, let's just kind of move those out of each other's way here. We had kind of almost a upside down teardrop that's been cut off for the nose over here. And we see that a little bit here too, where if you were to say this was a teardrop, it'd probably be up there. So let's see if this remains true for the front view. I'm thinking probably not quite as much. So you've got kind of a rounded here. But if we think about how that's actually working on the face, you still have this shape here and then the under. And then the nose. I'm just going to put the nostrils in there just for the sake of argument. And you do kind of still have that teardrop-ish shape, but not quite to the extent that we had in the 3/4 view. And then if we come off here, we have our rounded shape here. And again, diagonal from the eyes, we've got the ears. The kind of bigger fur shape we've got over here. Eyes, puffs. And again, it's the whole point of this tracing is just to get both our hands used to it and our eyes used to seeing it, because this is a form that we don't see very often unless you, I don't know, maybe go to the zoo a lot and you could see a lot of red pandas. I personally don't get to see a lot of red pandas. And even if you do see them a lot, you're probably not used to breaking them down. There's also this lovely tail back here. I love red panda tails. They're just like this fluff ball with stripes, and they are so cute. Okay. We're gonna do one more and then we're gonna try drawing one on our own. So let's go ahead and pull one more image. What about maybe a odd kind of down view? Oh, this image is gorgeous. Again, very small image. That's what happens when you're pulling your refs off of Google. And again, I do recommend having your own refs, but since I don't have access for the purpose of studying, I am just looking for refs that I can break down right now. Okay, so we're looking at it from a top view right now. And as you can see, we still have this view here of the top of the face. And if we look at the other ones, you can kind of see how you've got the same kind of shortness to the snout. And it makes sense the way it's turning in space there. You've got kind of the rounded there. And if you were to think about this with contour lines, just pretend that looks good. We're studying it. It doesn't have to look good. It just has to make sense. You've got this kind of rounded ball shape almost. And so when you go to turn it, say at the top here, like we've got here, you're looking at a nose that kind of goes like that. It's a very rounded shape, even if it doesn't portray that in our line drawing. I don't think my undos go back far enough. Well, it goes back to there and we're good. Okay. We've still got our eyes there, diagonal ears, our shapes. And at this point, we should be getting to the point where we can mostly just draw them without having to worry too much about it. And we're going to ignore the body for this one. I think I'm just going to study the face at this point. Got your little eyes. And this one of the interesting things about this reference is it's turned like diagonally, and that makes it, all the shapes are kind of different than we're expecting. They're the same shapes, but of course they're turned in space. Okay. Now let's go ahead and move our references to more organized area. I want you to constrain proportions, please. Okay. So this is the 4 traceovers we did. They are all looking pretty much like red pandas. And now we're going to do a sketch based on our observations. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do this shape first as opposed to doing the nose first because I'm not sure how I want him to turn in space yet. I think we're just going to try a straight on, just looking straight from the front here. And right off, there's an issue here. I forgot how low their eyes are on their face. That is definitely one thing that seems to be pretty different from other animals that I've seen a lot. They have a face that looks a lot like a ferret almost. So for the front view, we know we've got this somewhat teardrop shape here with the nose coming off here. Eyes diagonal for the ears. Outer tuft hair thing. And I'm going to round it a little bit because I feel like the tuft hair is actually rounder than I made it in that image. Eyes, tufts, stripes. Okay. And that's a basic basic red panda there. We're going to turn him off and we're going to make another one. This time I'm going to have him looking up. And let's see if we can make that work. We're going to actually pay a lot of attention to this one because looking down and looking up are much different in terms of angle. So we're going to go ahead and think about how this looks. And I assume with him looking up, you can still see kind of the front of the nose there. The eyes are probably mostly hidden, but they're kind of over there. Let's just indicate a little bit of mouth there. And one of the interesting things about having the eyes so low on the head is you'd probably still be able to see quite a bit of that forehead, especially with as flat as that face is. So we're gonna just leave that in there. Diagonal for the ears. And see, the problem is right now, this is looking to be a very flat face, like more flat than I need it to be. So we're gonna try and fix that a little bit. If I were to have this rounded, the biggest thing is those ears. You notice in the side, we can see how they sit very far back on the face. So maybe they'd be closer to here if we were looking down at him. And you've got your tufts that would probably come around like that. And that's our attempt at more of a bottom view. Let's try a side view, or three-quarter view, three-quarter view. You've got your basic kind of rounded half circle shape here. You got the snout, the nose, eyeline, diagonal for the ears. Eyes, tufts, designs. And I know we're being very loose with our sketches. This is just kind of my studying method. This is how I deal with things that I haven't drawn or haven't drawn nearly enough. So we're just gonna pull our four. I think we did four. We may have only done 3 studies. Yeah, we only did 3. We're gonna pull our 3 studies around here, and overall we're looking pretty good right now. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in another picture and I'm going to try drawing from the picture without trace over this time. So going around, going back to Google and see what we've got. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, bum. This one is adorable, so we're going to go ahead and pull him in. Okay. We don't have to make him quite as big because we're not, oopsie, we're not tracing. So we're going to put him off to the side. I picked this guy because he's a different angle to some degree than the other ones were. So we're going to see if we can draw him. First things first, we've got our face shape. You see the kind of a rounded thing there? There we go. And then this is one of the reasons I picked it. We had kind of that shape. We're seeing in not quite a 3/4 view, but somewhat like that. And we've got this cute little tongue. We're just gonna put the tongue in there for fun. That's where the eyes are, and diagonal for the ears. And as the thing's turning, we get less of this eye here. And the nose. Duft. Dufts. And we get that kind of the nose, nostrils there. And I'm sure there's a neck in here somewhere. An interesting thing with the tongue is it's quite thick. I know, that's normal for tongues, but I don't draw tongues very often. So let's just get a little more detail in those eyes, just a little bit. And that, I think, is it. So I hope you learned something from this video. I think I have. And if you would like to see more of this kind of video where I kind of just study and talk about what I'm thinking in the future, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment and subscribe.